what are the folks who literally make jobs that grow out of the free market, what do those folks want to see from this stimulus package? Let's get some perspective from Tennessee tonight. Two great companies in Tennessee. Carolyn Hardy is president and CEO of Hardy Bottling Company. That's in Memphis. And Jim Mitchell owns a Mr. Transmission repair shop in Nashville. And we're not all focused on Tennessee. We have Rod Kurtz right here in New York. He's been to Tennessee. He's the senior editor for Inc. magazine, and he's talking to the small and medium-sized companies all the time, those folks who really do most of the job creation. So, Carolyn, let me go to you first. You hire people. First of all, are you hiring people in this economy?
Yes, we are hiring people in this economy.
So with what capital are you hiring people? I assume that means that your company's doing well enough to actually hire people, right?
Well, actually, we're getting ready for our peak season. We're a beverage manufacturing company, and beverage manufacturing kicks off starting about March. So each year we ramp up our employment to support that.
So is there anything in this bill, what you know of it anyway, that might actually help you to hire more people?
Well, not that I'm aware of.
Let me ask Jim. Jim, what about you? Is there anything in this massive bill that might actually help you? Now, there are some tax advantages that have been thrown out to small and medium-sized companies. Do you know that anything in this bill might actually help you hire somebody?
Well, tax advantages are always a benefit to any small business, but one thing that we have really strongly affected us is the cost of utilities and the cost of insurance. In the last year to 2 years, it has just gotten extremely high, and increasingly monthly costs are just getting completely out of sight. The benefit tremendously would be if we could get some better, more reasonable insurance rates, liability insurance for our business, as well as hospitalization insurance for our employees.
Now, by the way, have you made any of that known to your local representative to try to squeeze it into this bill?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Certainly have.
And do you know if any of that paid off? Because, frankly, I've only read about 200 pages of this. I didn't see much about actually lowering insurance costs for small employees, but it might be in there. Do you know?
No, I don't think it is, but I do think it would be one of the key factors that could help us tremendously.
All right. Now, Rod, you talk all the time to small and mid-sized businesses like these guys.
They're my people.
They're your people, and they're all of our people because they are the heart of the economy.
And the job creators.
What do they tell you about what should be in here? Maybe that is or maybe that isn't.
I think as a general rule, a lot of business owners say the best thing that Washington, D.C. can do is get out of the way. So they tend to be weary of big spending bills like this. I'll tell you an area where it's not getting a lot of conversation, but I think one area that a lot of entrepreneurs are taking notice of is looking at some of these government projects, the green projects, but just the overall infrastructure. Now, by law, it's actually a law, 23% of all contracts, federal contracts, are supposed to go to small businesses. So if you're a general contractor, a contractor of some kind who could seize on this and do business with Uncle Sam, one of the priorities that a lot of entrepreneurs hope are coming from the Small Business Administration and others is actually sticking to this 23% goal. So it is spending. We can debate whether it's money well spent, but if you're in one of these industries and you think that you can capitalize on this, you're taking notice.
Carolyn, what is your biggest expense? Is it payroll? Is it the stuff that you have to buy, the supplies that you buy? What is it?
My biggest expense is utilities.
Utilities?
It's almost 1/3 of my total cost.
Wow, 1/3. And Jim, I imagine it's a similar percentage of your costs as well, right?
Well, it's not quite that much. Our biggest expense, of course, is employees. Our payroll is definitely our biggest expense. And, of course, insurance would probably be our next, and then I would say utilities would fall after that.
By the way, when you say you'd like the government to lower insurance, does that mean that perhaps you would be happy with the United States where there were fewer lawsuits that lead to the higher insurance rates?
Well, absolutely. Frivolous lawsuits are definitely a cause of us to have extremely high rates.
And have you passed that message on to your congressman or your senator?
Oh, yes, sir. I certainly have.
And what do they tell you?
Well, it's pretty much about the same. It's something that's always in the working, but never seems to happen.
Carolyn, what about you? Insurance costs. It's interesting that 1/3 of your costs come from utilities, but what about insurance? Is that a major concern as well?
Yes, insurance costs for me between liability insurance and hospitalization insurance, about 20% of my total expense.
Wow, 20% of your total. Now, Rod, there is something that the government could do about that. I mean, the government can take certain measures to, for example, make losers pay in frivolous lawsuits. Right. That would cut down on the number of lawsuits.
That's a huge issue. Year after year, you look at survey after survey. Healthcare is a huge issue. Insurance is a huge issue. I was actually I had jury duty a couple of years ago here in New York, and in the part where they're evaluating potential jurors, this guy stood up and said, "I'm a small business owner. This was a lawsuit, a medical malpractice insurance case." And he said, "As a business owner, I've been on the receiving end of this. I don't think I could ever be unbiased about this because it is such a huge concern." I think looking at the broader economic situation aside from the stimulus, I was talking with a CEO today, and he described it as far as employment and creating jobs. It's a little bit like steering into a skid. When everyone else is firing people, he looks at it as a tremendous opportunity to hire. I believe our friends in Tennessee are both hiring. They're getting good talent for low cost.
Jim and Carolyn, I got to ask you quickly, maybe we can put up two shots of you together. And first I'll go to Jim, ask you whether you think you're going to survive this crisis, and the same question to Carolyn. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, absolutely, we'll definitely survive it. I've been here with my business going on 38 years now. We're a franchisee from the Moran industry family, which also has multiple other type franchisees in the aftermarket, such as Multi-State, Altamir, Dr. Nick's, quite a few of them. But we'll definitely survive it. We went through the 70s and went through the 80s, so we'll make it. But we've had to make some adjustments to do that.
And quickly, Carolyn, same question to you.
Yes, Hardy Bottling will survive as well, but we've tightened our belts. We've cut all unnecessary spending. We're looking at different business strategies. We have applied for our SBA certification, which we've received. So we're doing a lot of different things.
Jim, we got to leave it at that. Thanks, gang. Coming up, details on Bernie.